All right, sorry that that was cut off there. Didn't notice my 15 minutes of fame were up. So the computer position, right, we put this little bit in here just to make sure that the started where it should. And we hit play. Now both should be sort of centered in the game screen. Just give it a second. Bum, 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 bum. There we go. So now they're both centered. And of course, there goes the ball. Perfect. Okay. Now, what we want to do in this video is work on our little thing called the Game Manager. What we'll first do is just get kind of a score working, and then seeing how the time is, we might even get it re-instantiating. Okay, so bring the ball back into the game. So let's create a Game Manager. So what we're going to do is create another empty, create empty, and we will call this a Game Manager. Again, make sure you reset that to 000. Okay, and we'll call this Game Manager. And whoops, manger, speaking French here, manager. There we go. That looks a bit better. Now what we're going to do on this one is again another script, and we're going to call it the Game Manager script. So let's just do that right away. Create, because that's all this is going to be. It's just a holder for our C# script. So game, if I can spell it right. Now this one, if you do spell it right, you will notice it comes a little sort of gear. And that's because it's a very typical script. This Game Manager script is probably, almost all the games have it. And what our Game Manager script is kind of think of it almost like the referee. It's going to keep track of the score. It's going to watch for, who got the point kind of thing. And then you could get it to do a bunch of other things if you wanted to. But for our relatively simplistic game, that's going to be its primary purpose is watching the score here. So let's just put it right on. Now, before we go do anything here, let us also create some text. So I'm just going to create two little text boxes up here to hold the score. One for the player score, one for the enemy or computer score. So remember how to do that. We can do it right here, I guess. Create UI, and we are going to create text. And so that should put some stuff in here. And I'm just going to set it a little bit left of center for this one, and then a little bit right of center. So we'll put this one as probably player score is a good name. And I'm going to click on this, Shift Alt, and center it there. And now it's just a bit to the left of that. I want it, and we might have to mess around with it a bit later on, but just get a rough spot. So I'm going to put it maybe at -20. I'm also going to put on this text just center, and maybe bring it down a little bit, something like that. Now you might want to change the color to, I'm going to go for a pure white, just so it's clear. And really, it's just going to have a number in there. So I'm just going to put in maybe the biggest number I'm going to have, like sort of 10 maybe if I go up to 10. And I might just sort of increase the size a bit. Okay, remember when it disappears, you've got the option. Now I probably don't need a width that much, so I'm going to cut that down to 50, but I'm going to increase this maybe to 50. So I've got kind of a square box there. If I zoom out, you can kind of see my text box. Okay, that looks reasonable. Okay, -20, whatever. Okay, and maybe I'll just make that -10. And then I'm just going to duplicate it. So the player score, click on that, Control D will duplicate. And we'll call this, I guess, computer score. And the only thing that I would do differently is I'm going to set that to +20. This is what I was saying, is that enough? And I have to kind of figure that out. Don't forget, the ball is not actually quite centered. That's just to make that, the ball is a bit off. I'll just reset that position. Okay, so it is center. I'd say that they're too close together. So I would simply go in here. I think maybe I'm going to double it. Probably better. And so I'll just set this to 40. Whoops. There we go. Yeah, I would say that that's better. Now later on, you might want to put like some dots or something in here just to make it look a little bit better. You can do that. I haven't set up any layers or anything. That might be an option. All right, so our game manager, we've got the score here. Let's kind of go and deal with that. So if you remember back on the ball, and this is actually going to involve the ball as well. The ball, once it got to minus 10 or minus whatever it was, minus 13 I think it was, or plus 13, it disappeared. Well, before the ball disappears, we're going to want it to call a function in the game manager to assign a point. So let's go put a bunch of stuff in the game manager. So I'm going to open that up, and after that you'll sort of be able to see kind of what's going on here. So at the very top, we're going to put in a few variables, and they're going to make sense here. So first thing that we're going to do is actually let's put in the text, and I just forgot one thing right away. Player score text, I'm going to call that. And it helped me out here with text alignment. Well, that's obviously not what I want. I want just text. But the reason why it didn't help me, and it's giving me that error, is because I didn't put using Unity Engine.ui. If I put my mouse over here, it will actually give me using Unity Engine UI. I can do that. Bang, it's fixed. Nice. Okay, next one. Same thing, public text, computer score text. Perfect. Now, what we also need too is something to hold the score kind of thing, right? This one I wouldn't put public. I mean, we shouldn't have to change it from here. So I'm going to call that player score, and I will call this computer score. So we've got two variables here, okay, that are going to hold the player score and the computer score. They're both integers because we're not going to use decimals to keep track of the score. Now at the very start, unless you want to cheat, is we're going to set the scores here. So player score, and I think, I'll show you a neat little thing. I can do two at once. Computer score, I think I can do this, is equal to 0. Does it like that? No, it doesn't. Okay, sorry. Thought we could. Multiple assignment. But anyways, okay, so there it is. Maybe it's just in Python. Computer score equals 0. Okay, there we go. Nice and easy. What we've done is we've set both the player score and the computer score to be 0. Now what we're going to do is we are going to create two functions. One's going to be sort of like an add player score. The other one's going to be add to computer score. Okay, so I'm actually going to come down from the update. I'll leave it here. I don't think we're ever going to use the update, but I'm just going to put a bit of space in. We're going to create our own functions. Now it's very, very important that you put public in front of these functions because we want the player, or sorry, the ball to use this function. So I'm going to call this add player score. And then we're going to put a little bit of code in here. So what we're going to do is if we want to add to the player score, we're going to add to the player score. So player score, and the easiest little thing to do is just go plus plus, and that means add 1 to it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run a player score update function. We haven't created this function yet. Okay, that's all we're going to do here. I'm going to basically copy this. I won't copy it though. I will write this as well. And I'll leave a little bit of space because we're going to come back to something underneath there in a second. So public void add computer score. Same thing, except this time we're going to do the computer score plus plus. And we're going to run this computer score update. And, you know, I mean, we could do this as separate things, but just to sort of functionalize it, we will make separate things. Okay, so we've got basically functions that are public that are going to add the computer score and add the player score. Now this little player score update, like I said, I'm going to create a function. So it says it does not exist. If you click on here, you can actually get it to, yeah. get it to create it. And so there it is. Add computer score. There we are. Sorry. Player score update. There we go. Throw new, not okay. We need to do something here. What we need to do is update the score. So we're just going to create a little one line of code. So we can do player score text dot text is equal to, and then we'll just take the player score and change that into a toString. There we go. And then basically we'll do the same thing with this one. So down here, computer score, and there's my suggestion, generate method, sure, thank you. Take this, and basically it's the exact same, but it's going to be the computer score text dot text is equal to the computer score score dot toString. Good. And that's what we'll get done here, and then we'll just go make sure that it's working fine. So let's just save this. There we go, and go back to Unity. Now there's one thing that we should do first, and I just forgot that. We'll go back to the script in a second. What I'm going to do is on my GameManager, I'm going to make sure that I assign my text here. So player should go to player, and computer should go to computer. Again, that's the importance of naming things clearly so you don't get confused. Score 1, score 2, ooh, which one was the player, which one was the score, or computer, right? You'll get very confused. The one thing that I wanted to do is if I do hit play here now, this will show up as 10, okay, until somebody scores. Well, actually, nobody scores. I forgot the other thing we need to do as well. But let's just get that fixed, and then we'll do the next thing in the following video. So I'm just going to go back up to our script, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the computer score update and run the player score update right after we assigned at the start the scores to be 0. So we'll just run those two. So player score update and computer score update. And there we go. So I just added those 2 lines right there. Save it. Go back to Unity, wherever my mouse has gone. There it is. And all I'm looking for here is to make sure this shows up as 0s, because those are just placeholders at the moment. So when the game begins, there's 0. That's good. Now, we don't have the score updating, even though we created this add, oops, sorry, where are we here? We scored at this, add player score or add computer score. They are not working because they're not being called. So in the next video, we'll get the ball to actually call and run these functions so that we can actually get a score here. Okay, so that's what we'll do in the next video.